announcement to discuss with all of you. So let's all take our seats and let's all be positive and see things as they are. You know, I always see the glass half full. It's never half empty. It's always half full. Things are always moving in the right direction. Things are always getting better. We have to stay positive no matter what we do. And I'm going to present something, but I'd like Jaime to come on up, Jaime. This isn't for you, but it's a surprise for somebody who has no idea that this is going to happen. I'm expecting Angelo and my staff to be able to take a nice photo that will end up on Facebook in the next 10 minutes or so. And I'd like my colleague, Paul Koretz, to stand next to me at this point as well. Life is too short no matter how long you live. We always want more time. And we always feel that we can continue to move forward. That's been my philosophy. We can always move forward. Some of you know I have animals. I connect with my animals. They're as important to me as all of the other energy that one interacts with as one is living one's life. Part of my animal world are chickens. And my hens are now getting organic greens from Whole Foods. And so they're even organic in their total mix of what they do. December is a bad month. They don't lay any eggs. In January, they start up a little bit. But here we are in February, and they're starting to lay again. Now, Antonio, the fellow that's our mayor, he gets a half a dozen, because everybody gets a half a dozen these days. We're in an austerity kick. We have to be careful how we spend things. But I'm going to ask Paul Backstrom to come on up, who got married last week, my deputy, and he's getting the half a dozen eggs today. Okay? And I want Jaime to be on one side and Paul on the other. And we want to flash these eggs because this is a great guy. All right? Right there? Okay. Are we all in this? Flash them out. Great. Give them a round of applause. You know, there's so many different people in this government that I owe eggs to because it's been a while. Some of you might know that Herbie Wesson, who is really an incredible dude, he said to me a couple of years ago, because I had a male and a female white turkey, and they lived to be old age, and then they passed. And he becomes president of this council, and he says, Bill, he says, I like them turkey eggs, you know? So what did I do? I got myself 2 bourbon female turkeys, 2 of them, so that Herbie could get his turkey eggs. So the turkeys and the chickens live well. And when Paul was getting married, we did a cert, congratulating him on it. But I can't think of a better congratulations than those chickens' eggs. You're the best. Thank you, Paul. Now we're waiting for a quorum. In the meantime, I call Tony Royster and I say, warm up this room. I'm freezing. So I'm hoping that it's going to get a little warmer in the next few minutes as well. It looks like Mr. Tom LaBonge is en route. His great deputy's got a good grin on. So that's always good news when she does. Okay. So we have some general public comments. We have 2 cards on general public comment. And then we have, for item number 1, and I don't know what item this is for, general comment for proposal. Got a lot of gizmos in it here.
Number 3?
It's a guy named, or Dorothea Starr.
Dorota Starr, that's for number 3.
Dorota Starr, this is number 3?
Yeah.
I want to put 3 on top so I can, and this is number 1, right? Number 4, okay. Yeah. So we have cards for number 1, 3, and 4. That we need to deal with. And we have, okay, it's 1, 2 general questions.
Dorota is on number 2.
Great. We have a quorum now. Mr. LaBonge has joined us. So the committee is now officially going to be in session. And in that context, what I would like to do is go out with the two general public comments, if I could, and open up public comment now. And I would like to have Dennis Hindman, is that right, Dennis? Hindman. And an LAX employee named Jose M. Rodriguez. Come on up.
We on item 1?
Yeah, I know, public.
Good afternoon.
Hi, I'm Dennis Hyman. I live in Toluca Lake. A study recently published found that cities with higher rates of driving have fewer people per square mile, a difference more than 4,000 people per square mile for each 10% change in automobile use. This has to do with the amount of land used to move and store all those cars. In cities with roughly 30% more driving, about twice as much land is committed to parking for each resident and employee. This showed that as several cities cut back on surface parking, the number of people and jobs climbed upward, as did incomes. Less parking in these places have meant the urban fabric can be stitched back together, and there's more space for shops, restaurants, jobs, and other things that make cities great. More importantly, the parking isn't needed. People own cars at higher rates, but they don't use them as much. Instead, they live close to the urban core, which upwards of 30% walk or bike to work. Today, in many cities, roads and parking facilities continue to grow as though the problem for the last 50 years have been that the growth was not enough. These cities might be able to guarantee a parking space in front of every destination that still remains, or they might not, but they are likely doing so at the expense of those things that cities need most, which namely people. As UCLA professor Donald Shoup has pointed out, parking lots are asphalt holes in the urban fabric. They make driving easier, but walking more difficult and less rewarding. Past some critical point, more parking spaces harm rather than help the central business district. His research indicated that Los Angeles has the highest density of parking spaces in the world for its downtown area. Recently, hot toll lanes have been added to freeways leading into Los Angeles. These have been shown to reduce congestion in other cities, but the majority of those driving on these freeways will no doubt claim that this is a terrible idea. Similarly, taking a lane away from motor vehicles for bike lanes will reduce the amount of injuries for bicycling, which will increase the appeal of cycling for local trips and to transit stations leading to downtown. Thank you.
Well, bless you, and thank you very much. Okay, our next public speaker is Jose Rodriguez. Good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jose Rodriguez, a United employee from LAX for United Airlines. My concern is, and all of my coworkers and TSA, every employee from the LAX airport, our flyaway is not providing really a best of quality of service in the past. And what I've been asking LADOT is to make the 438 Commuter Express run all day. As the same as the 142 runs all day, we need the 438 running all day for travelers and for LAX employees.
Where's the 438? Explain
The 438 runs from downtown LA. It goes to Aviation Green Line Station, and then it goes all the way to Redondo Beach. So we need the service to Aviation, at least to Aviation. When there's the green line, we can transfer to the G bus shuttle to the airport. I find it's much quickly, even though it has every stop in downtown. Sometimes it's much quickly because the 110 freeway is really packed, and when the flyaway, we get there later. So for me, I prefer to get the 438 and then transfer to the G bus at the train station, the Green Line station. I will be happy to have the 438 running all day, weekends, every day of the week, if possible. The last thing I want to comment is I've been having some issues with the driver on the 438, the 5 o'clock p.m. afternoon driver. She's really rude, and I don't want to tolerate her again. I'm pissed off. I don't even know what she's doing in this job. And I know LADOT has great drivers. Commuter Express has a great drivers that I stopped seeing it. I don't know if they're getting rid of the best drivers, but there are drivers that are really professional, and that's what I'm asking. So hopefully we can get this lady removed from that route. She's really rude, and I don't have to tolerate her after I pay $172 only. Thank you very much, and have a great day.
In the last seat in the back of the room is the head of the department. Go talk with him a little bit about both issues that you just...
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for coming forward. Is there any other public comments? General public comment? General public comment going once, going twice? End of general public comment. Okay. Now we have on the agenda, colleagues, a consent item, which is item number 3. Could we have item number 3 read, please?
Item number 3 is a DOT report relative to the establishment of oversized vehicle parking restrictions for the 6300 block of Arizona Circle, the 6300 block of West Arizona Place, and for Arizona Avenue between Sentinel Avenue and Briggs Place.
Does anybody want to know more about that? If not, I'd like to just move it on consent, colleagues. Is that okay?
Okay,
Sure.
Okay, so moved, consent. It has been done. Then we have the regular agenda, and we have item number 1, which is what?
Item number 1 is the CLA report relative to an MOU with Los Angeles Streetcar Incorporated in the amount of $1 million in Measure R local return funds for environmental design and associated project management expenses for the downtown Los Angeles Streetcar project.
We have 2 cards on there. Did you want to say something?
Do you want to do I can do a quick staff report, or we can have public comment? Okay.
The question is, do we want public comment first or staff report? Let's have staff report and have reaction to it from the public comment. Does that make sense for people in the room? Okay, so come on up, staff. Fill us in on what we're doing on
That would be me. This is CLA report. Just a quick background. In February of 2011, the council approved this appropriation of $1 million for the Downtown Streetcar project. So in order to provide the money to Los Angeles Streetcar Incorporated for this work, we have prepared an MOU that's before you. This was continued at our last meeting. There were some clarifications in the MOU that we wanted to make, so I've distributed a revised MOU for all the members. If you note on page 3, we wanted to clarify what the money could be used for, so we struck some of the language under 2A3 to make it a little more general and to clarify that none of this money is to be used for construction or capital improvements. So we've got that language in there that is also reflected on page 13. But on page 12, we've also revised the language for the cost estimate and just summarized that the preliminary cost estimate for the project is $125 million for design and construction of the streetcar system. So with those 2 changes, we would ask you to approve the CLA recommendations and the MOU as amended.
Dennis, have you seen this report that you just mentioned? No. Okay, would you like to see it and read it yourself too? As you're talking about it? Well, come on up. Come on up. And we have 2 cards on it, of course. One is from Dennis, and the other one is from SHIRAZ. Can I be smart? Who's giggling? Is that you?
That's me, Mr. Roosevelt.
Just Bill, of course. Say your name, sir. She's got me.
Shiraz Tangri.
Say it again one more time.
Shiraz Tangri.
Okay. It is a compliment. Go for it.
Hi, again, my name is Dennis Hyman. I live in Toluca Lake. I am against this the city investing funds into a streetcar for downtown for the 3.5-mile distance. First of all, in the East San Fernando Transit Corridor project, one of the alternates was a streetcar originally, and then they dropped it because there wasn't enough advantage to having one. The capacity for the streetcar compared to a bus is very little, and the reliability would be much worse than a bus because it gets stuck in traffic. Now, for the last meeting, which I wish, the Transportation Committee meeting, which I wish I would have attended, it said that, it was pointed out that for every $5 that the city invests, they're going to get $1 back in tax revenue. Now, compare that to, and that money is being sucked away from any other use of it, of Measure R money. And after Measure R money is dropped, and the city is stuck with this. But compare that to the city of Portland, which has invested the equivalent in 2008 dollars of $60 million in bicycle infrastructure. And they have a business for bicycling in that city of $100 million per year. That includes building bicycles, clothing, and also accessories for bicycles. Now, we emphasize in this city driving, but we don't manufacture cars here, and most of the gasoline is not manufactured here. So the revenue, most of that revenue is going outside of the city for emphasizing motorists, and yet bicycling for Portland is bringing in revenue to the city. So I think it's a very, it's what you're getting, it's a big project, which is, like a Taj Mahal project. It looks grandiose, but what the city is getting back in return is much less than they have to pay out.
Okay, but I'd like you to look at this too and see if it gives you any comfort with the changes that you made.
Okay.
You're up.
Thank you, council members. My name is Shiraz Tangri with the law firm of Alston Bird. I also serve as general counsel for the LA Streetcar project. We appreciate your consideration of this item. We ask that you move it forward quickly. These funds are very important to keep the project on its very aggressive schedule. The streetcar project has moved very quickly through the city's various processes to get it to this point, but we've got a lot of work to do. And we're competing against cities around the country that are trying to build these projects. Portland was just mentioned. Portland is a great biking city, but it's also a great streetcar city. In fact, they built the first modern streetcar system 10 years ago, and communities in Portland are fighting for the extensions of those projects because they've seen what they've done to revitalize different parts of that city and connect them. Taking a city that 15 years ago would have defined itself, Portland, as a car-centric place, and converting into a place that we now look at as a model of sustainable development and transportation. The downtown streetcar, yeah, it's a short distance, but as you well know, the Southern California transportation system really uses downtown as a hub. And getting people around downtown, getting people into downtown, but getting them around downtown once they're here is one of the central points of the downtown streetcar. It's an urban circulator project. It helps solve first and last mile problems of people who can get to downtown, but still end up over miles away from their destination. For example, I live in Culver City. I could take the Expo line to get here, but I'd still be over a mile away from my office using the train to get to Metro Center. This project would cure that situation, not just getting people from LA Live to the Civic Center to City Hall, but also through our historic neighborhoods like Broadway, which have not had any transit investment in years. So we urge that you move it forward. Thank you.
Is there anybody from Mr. Weezar's office that wants to speak?
Thank you, council members. Jessica Wethington McLean on behalf of Council Member Weezar. He apologizes he's not here today. He really took ill this morning and we sent him home. So he apologizes for not being here himself. This MOU was approved about 2 years ago by council to facilitate getting the streetcar through some of the environmental and engineering tasks that are required of it in order so that we can be prepared to submit our small starts application and get this project in the ground. So we would appreciate your approval of the MOU. Our office was involved with the CLA and the CAO in the minor modifications of the wording this last week, and we're perfectly fine with it. It allows streetcar to do what they need to do and continue to work also with Metro, who's handling the environmental on behalf of the city, and make sure that everyone gets paid for the work that they're doing on our behalf.
Mr. Labange.
Thank you very much. I see Metro's here. Does Metro support the streetcar? As representative of Metro, does the Metro board take a...
Metro.
I don't know.
Good afternoon.
Hi, I'm Rini Berlin. I'm one of the executive officers in planning. Metro right now is acting as a consultant to the City of LA to do the environmental, so we are working with the City of LA.
Who would run it?
We are assuming the city will run it.
But is that like counterproductive? You're the transit people of the region.
The City of LA operates Dash buses.
Only because you couldn't operate lines 25 years ago and they became up on it. One day we should consolidate back, put it all under MTA so DOT could fix streets and stuff like that. But you know what Dash stands for?
Something area-wide, something. I'm sorry.
It's okay, I got you.
Downtown area service.
No, downtown area short hop. I just wanted to catch you. Not true.
Before my time.
So I'm very supportive of this concept here. How many bus lines, though, do go down Broadway? Is Broadway still the main spine of buses?
Yes, it is.
How many, like 20 lines or something, or? But a significant number, not 3, not 5,
it's
not
one of-
7, it's...
It's one of our major
Backbone.
bus routes in downtown Los
And
Angeles.
is it true that the Red Line subway originally was chosen to be Broadway as opposed to Hill?
That was before my time, sir.
I know, but my time wasn't that time, and it was there, but the people on Broadway didn't want it because they didn't want the construction interruption, which is sad, because they could have taken that interruption, and it really would have been something if it was what we would call Broadway, which is such a street there. The only thing I want to really be adamant on, and I told Mr. Weezer, that you should use, whatever you do if this is successful, the technology that they have in Bordeaux, France, which doesn't have overhead wires, and it comes out of the middle of the street and is not electrocuted, that you have to have a third rail problem. So I hope we make sure that's in there, Maria, the beauty of Broadway, and if you haven't been on, Mr. Rosendahl, the second story of a double-decker bus down Broadway, like Starline Tours, which we help bring back down to promote tourism here, you see the fabulous Broadway that we all know and love, and see the vision of Mr. Weezer. So that's it. I do have another suggestion. Recently, and I don't know if the MTA people saw it, the Orange County newspaper said a story about building buses that look like streetcars. Did you hear that at all? Have you heard of that?
No, yeah.
Could you just come forward and just tell us what that means? You're a transit person? Yeah. But you're good. Yeah, we're free press here, free.
Come on up to the mic. Mr. Labange's on a roll.
Yeah. No, I just think it's something that we can look at, because it's going to take, let's say right now, what is your best hope as a deputy for Mr. Weezer?
We intend to be under construction on by 2014 and up and running by 2016.
Okay, that's very ambitious.
You're going to be invited to the New Year's Eve party, Mr. Labange. We're going to use shovels and hats, and we'll be
Okay,
under
make it early, because
2014.
New Year's Eve is amateur night, want to get home early. Anyway, what did you see? Because you're with the MTA.
My
Tell
recollection,
us your name.
Ellen Isaacs. I'm
From
liaison-
MTA.
Yeah, a month now at
Right.
Metro as the liaison to City
Where were you
Hall.
before?
Assemblyman Mike Fewer's office.
Right, good to see you, yeah.
Thank you.
Good. See, if you stayed back there, you wouldn't have got that testimony. Always grab a mic when you can.
Thank you.
Okay. So what did you see? Because this is a good idea.
My recollection was that it had the distinction between a streetcar itself and the bus itself was that there's more capacity on the bus. That's my recollection from the article.
Well, the other thing I saw there, they actually took the body of a bus
Right.
and put the body of a streetcar on it
Yeah.
to give it a streetcar flair. In San Francisco at Pier 39, many of the fashionable, Mr. Rosendahl, San Francisco has trolley cars, but they're rubber wheels. Anyway, it gets our golden objective, because transit should be fun. I'm still, and don't take this personally, James, disappointed with the lack of creativity that LA DOT does on their trolley buses. I was passing through Beverly Hills, and I saw what they do with their trolley bus. It looks like a trolley. So I do believe there's a goal that Mr. Weezer has to make it look fun as well as interesting to ride. And that's why I support this. But I could not support it if we had overhead wires in the historic core, because you lose the beauty of Broadway that is already come back. But to the MTA, thank you very much. And to the streetcar barrister, thank you very much. And I would support this as we take the next step.
Mr. Kravets.
Nothing to add, except let's do it.
Oh, golly, it's unanimous, the three of us, moving forward with the project. Good luck.
To approve the CLA recommendations with the amended MOU.
Under one condition, that, Tom, I'm with you on
The overhead wires.
when we do the official thing.
Yeah, but also, could you put a little note in there that the overhead wires, that they look at technology?
That was in the previous report, Mr.
It's
I
still there.
believe in the operations
Got it.
report,
Thank you
they
very
are.
much.
Yeah, I believe that's being looked at.
Thank you.
Okay, next item on the agenda is item number 2.
Item number 2 is an LADOT report relative to transferring jurisdiction and control of the municipal property located at 536 to 538 7th Street in San Pedro.
Okay, we have one card on this. Dorothea?
Dorota.
What's that?
That's Dorota.
Oh, Dorota. God bless you, Dorota.
Hard to pronounce.
And they have star in parentheses.
Yes.
Well, you are a star.
Thank you.
You're a self-artist and constituent and property owner. Great. From San Pedro.
Yes.
Welcome.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yep, we can.
I just wanted to thank you all for addressing this issue. I've spent the past 2.5 years of my life devoted to seeing this happen, and I can't tell you how happy I am that this is finally coming to fruition. I heard something the President said today about change, how hard it is to make change, and that sometimes we don't because of fear, and justice finally, I think, is happening here. I have given you some information, some photographs on your desk that you have, so you can see the parking lot and the condition that it's in, and the street, and the new medical clinic that is opening, and the contrast. So hopefully this will help the community. It will help create more health concerns in the area, and I now can cross the street where I live and go to the doctor, and I can't tell you how great that is. So thank you very much. I hope you consider this and pass it. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, and especially for your hug you gave me earlier and the support you've given me personally. I totally appreciate it. Would you like to give us a quick report on what this is?
DOT is here to give a report.
And I know Mr. Labange and Mr. Kretz and I might have a question as well.
Good afternoon, council members. Rene Saglas, Parking Facilities Division, Department of Transportation. This parking lot located in San Pedro, it was originally, at this point, currently being managed and operated by the Department of Cultural Affairs with a memorandum of understanding with the Department of General Services for exclusive use of the Croatian Cultural Center. Just last year, there was a motion that opened the parking lot to the public, and LADOT was instrumental in putting in the parking regulatory signs and restrictions for it to be open to the public. In May of 2011, we did open, just to open it to the public. Now what the motion is to get the department to handle the operation and to upgrade and fully do a management control of the parking lot as a municipal public parking lot.
Mr. Kretz.
Yeah, this seems like a good idea. I'm just wondering if there are any opportunities to defray costs, like charging when the lot's used for filming or used for special events or anything like that. Any envisioning of any opportunities to recoup the costs?
As in current policy of the city, when it comes to filming, we have given Film LA the jurisdiction over giving all operated lots, public operated lots, I guess for free, to entice back the film production back to the city of Los Angeles. So as far as film is concerned, then we will not have any financial ROI or return of our investment to recoup. But for special events, yes, we will be able to do special events where we could charge them for the use of the lot on a case-to-case basis.
Very good.
I want to make sure that the great councilman of the 15th and his fine deputies get a chance. Come up on my time. I was a deputy once, so I know how big it is to testify.
Jacob Haig, District Director to Councilman Buscaino. We're in full support. Actually, Cultural Affairs and Department of Transportation have been wonderful in partnering with us to open up this lot. It does support a lot of the community. It's been, for years, chained off. A little bit in disrepair, but we worked with the community to clean it up. We took the chain down. Transportation was gracefully put up some signs for hours of operation and enforcement. And it is now servicing the community. It's servicing a brand new medical center that invested $3 million in rehabbing two buildings. it's become an asset to the community. So this would clean up the sort of mess we have there, get it out of cultural affairs, get it to transportation. We'll work with them on finding some extra funds to clean it up, to repair it, put the additional lighting and signs, and give it to the community.
Will you look for extra funds? From where? I heard that. That's a nice line.
There's a P-bid downtown. We have a chamber that's invested quite a bit. We have, as you know, downtown San Pedro, we have the USS Iowa. We have the port invests a lot of money. We're revitalizing the downtown, so if there's money to be found, we will find it.
Yes, Mr. Kratz.
Yeah, I'm having trouble picturing the area in my head. What are the main entities that this serves? The medical center, what else is nearby?
It's less than a half a block away from the downtown area of San Pedro. So you have Warner Grand about 3/4 of a block away, downtown businesses, the Chamber of Commerce. It's the heart of the revitalization that we're doing. So you go up the street a little bit further, and there's still a little bit some unoccupied businesses, but we hope to change that. As with some of the older communities, it's a lack of parking that is a hindrance. This lot would add to revitalization. One of the vacant buildings was just purchased for another medical center, medical purposes, to be run there, and this lot would service that as well.
So you think the revived lot may actually help generate some economic development and revitalization in the
It's
area?
very key to that, absolutely.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kratz, for clarifying that out and putting it there. We're big on public-private partnerships, so we look forward to whatever monies you can draw in. Do we have a motion to move forward with this?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, unanimous on this, we're moving forward.
Thank you, council members.
Very much. Next item.
Next item is number 4, which is an LADOT report relative to the status of the East San Fernando Valley Transit Corridor Project. We've got DOT staff as well as Metro staff here for a presentation.
Please make a presentation, and we do have Dennis Hinman who wants to also react. Want to react to it, Dennis, or speak first?
Well, I can speak first.
Come on up then. Whatever's best for you.
Well, on the East, my name is Dennis Hyman, I live in Tuluc Lake. On the East Valley project, you must consider that when the public looks at this, it's a buffet of choices, and the price for each alternative is the same ticket price. So naturally, they're going to favor the one that is the most expensive because it's seemingly, they're all the same price. In fact, I presented that to a meeting, outreach meeting that the DOT and Metro had in Van Nuys, and I mentioned that to a DOT staff, and that if there was a subway as a choice, people would choose that. And somebody overheard me and said, darn right I would choose a subway. So they're naturally choosing the most expensive. That would be true of any of these projects that we have in the city, even though you don't really need the most expensive one. And I've been attacked vigorously for saying a BRT would fit within the budget that they have, and they think people respond that you must be crazy. That's not the most expensive choice on the menu. So I'm just putting that out to you. Have to keep that in mind when the majority of people favor the most expensive method.
Fair enough. I appreciate your comments. This is going to be, colleagues, a note and file once we get a full report on it. Could we please have DOT come up and give us a report on this? It's a work in progress, and it is a note and file rather than an action item. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, committee members. My name's Jesus Serrano. I'm a transportation engineer. I'm here to provide you an update on the East San Fernando Valley Transit Corridor. You may have received a handout that was provided earlier by Metro staff. I will be reading off of my report prepared earlier. And again, basically where we're at in this study is we have completed the alternative analysis study for the project and moving forward into the DEIS, DEIR phase.
Excuse me for a second. Do you have a report that you could give to him so he can look at it too?
There's one on Mr. Parker right there.
Thank you, Paul Backstrom, for doing that. Appreciate it.
Again, the board, the Metro Board received and filed the alternative analysis study in late January. In moving ahead with the process, it's past practice to bring an update to the City Council and the T Committee. And again, that's what we're doing here today. Basically, in the AA study, there were two alternatives that were identified, modal alternatives. One was the bus rapid transit, and the second was a light rail transit. The streetcar was initially looked at, but was pretty much eliminated because it did not appear to satisfy the purpose and need criteria. Under the BRT alternative, there were three options identified. Basically, we are starting on the north end at the Sylmar San Fernando Metrolink station, proceeding to Van Nuys in mixed flow, and then in a dedicated facility along Van Nuys Boulevard south to the Orange Line facility. That would be option one, I believe. Option two would take us over on the Orange Line extension to the Sepulveda station, and option three, again, under the BRT alternative, would proceed south on Sepulveda to Ventura Boulevard. Looking at the LRT alternative, basically it would be an at-grade LRT, again, starting at the Sylmar Metrolink station and proceeding along San Fernando Road, and then south on Van Nuys to the Van Nuys station or Ventura Boulevard. I'm sorry? I apologize.
Okay, what page you on in this report?
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm working off of my report. This particular handout, you would be on page 6. Okay.
Page 6.
Great, thank you.
Again, okay, and moving ahead, we have looked at the different alternatives. The basic configuration would be a median running facility with 2 lanes of travel in each direction on Van Nuys Boulevard, which would also include, would make provisions for bikeways, in accordance with the bicycle plan.
Talk about the bike plan and the bikeway. I want to hear it.
Okay. Well, again, basically, there's bicycle lanes that are included in the master bicycle plan for the city along Van Nuys Boulevard. Again, the general cross-section that is anticipated is a median running BRT or LRT, 2 lanes of traffic in each direction, plus bicycle lanes on both sides, both directions on Van Nuys Boulevard.
Very good.
Again, looking ahead, we are looking to move into the DEIR phase of the project. Right now, the project is scheduled to open, if everything goes well, in fiscal year 2018. Basically, that is the overview of the project. I can take some questions if you have any.
Mr. Koretz, you have something first?
Yeah, I've got a couple of questions.
Go for it.
And I just accidentally dialed someone on a cell phone in my pocket. I know one of the other Measure R projects in the region that my constituents are closely following is the Sepulveda Pass project. And that project would presumably end at the base of Sepulveda Boulevard, but it could also end at Van Nuys. And I don't think that Metro would be doing its due diligence if it doesn't at least study how they could seamlessly connect the two. The Sepulveda Pass is currently in its study phase, but it's a designated project for Measure R, so presumably that means it's going to happen. So I don't think we are doing our community justice if we don't look at how those projects can seamlessly connect. So my first question is, are we doing that? Are we looking at that? Are we planning for it? Or do we just have 2 projects that should connect on a completely non-parallel track and not planning this?
Hello again. I'm again Rini Berlin with the Planning Department over at MTA. Yes, we are coordinating the two projects. The Metro Board in December basically directed our staff to look at the possibility of a public-private partnership on the Sepulveda corridor. They also asked us to look as far north as the Silmar San Fernando Metrolink station and as far south as the airport. So we're right now going to the board this month to modify a contract to allow that study. We are not sure where the Sepulveda Pass project, if it's a tunnel, where it will come out, but we are ensuring that both projects will be integrated and coordinated in the future.
Okay, and as long as you're up there, I wonder if I could ask you also, if you know why personalized rapid transit doesn't seem to have been considered for these projects when they would be cheaper to build, quicker to build, cheaper to operate, and not slow traffic because it wouldn't be at the surface level.
I met with Mr. Taft, who's head of your PRT task force, last week, and what we suggested is that with the East San Fernando Valley, we will be going into the scoping period, and we invited comments to what we should study. I also gave him our public-private partnership people who we've turned over the Sepulveda Pass project to them, and I suggested that he contact them to get more involved in that project.
So not too late to have that considered as an alternative.
The comment period will be starting. We're hopefully going to have for the East San Fernando Valley our notice of intent published in the Federal Register on Friday, which will start the scoping period. We gave him a list of when our hearings are, and we certainly invited him to submit comments.
Great, thank you.
I appreciate that, Mr. Karatsis. The more input the public has an opportunity to participate, the better off we are.
Indeed.
Yeah, thank you very much. On certain things here, very concerned south of the busway and the impact on what is the existing, very thriving car dealerships. What is your plan south of the busway?
On the, if the BRT is identified, we are looking at three options for that. One terminating at the Van Nuys Metro Orange Line Van Nuys station, then we could go mixed flow down Van Nuys, which would have no impact. We're looking at the possibility of going over the Orange Line to the Sepulveda station and then either coming down dedicated lane or a mixed flow down Sepulveda to Ventura Boulevard or terminating at Sepulveda. So we are working with that right now.
So what if I heard everything that you said, did nothing happen south of the Orange Line?
At this point, we're not sure what will happen. Right now, we're looking at mixed flow on Van Nuys, or it could be dedicated lane or mixed flow on Sepulveda.
And for your, as planners, how far do where do the buses terminate in the valley there?
Right now, the 761 goes all the way over the hill to the west side.
Okay, so that's one bus, but how's it go over the hill? Sepulveda?
Yes.
Right, okay. The other thing too, I think in the long range, what is the plan for the 405? I know we're doing a carpool there, but what is the plan for the 405? Any plan?
Well, as Mr. Koretz just brought up, we do have our Sepulveda Pass project, which is the last project in the Measure Our Expenditure Plan, which has a 2039 delivery date, but the board is looking at a public-private partnership to help alleviate the 405 traffic.
And what does that do?
I'm sorry, it could be either a tunnel, a rail tunnel, a bus tunnel with highway toll lanes. So we're looking at what the potential is. We just completed a systems planning study, which we presented to the board in December, which came up with 6 concepts, the 6 concepts being from low cost to high cost. And so our public-private partnership people are looking at that, at those 6 opportunities.
What do we have in the I believe the one thing we have to do, members of this committee, is get heavy rail, which is like subway. There's 527 miles of freeway in Los Angeles County or thereabouts, and there's 18 miles of subway, which is going to be extended. How many miles, Jody, right now? 9 miles, so 18 and 9 is 27. So that's limited. Heavy rail does move people. And I think in trying to work with UCLA, which I think has a student population, an active population of 68,000, and the popularity, I think in the future we really have to look at that San Diego freeway corridor. And up in Livermore, I believe, I was in Livermore coming down the 80, Highway 80, US 80, and BART is right there. BART, Mr. Rosendahl, is how many miles is BART? You know, as a professional transit, like 132 or 182? And half of it is underground and the other half is above ground. And I think if we're going to be successful, we got to pull the heavy rail up and we got to match the freeway system. And I know that's well beyond 2039, but I'm looking for the youngest person, but I don't even know. We got one in here. Maybe Jaime.
Paul back.
Oh, well, Paul's got to get rid of his bird. I'm sorry, Paul. I meant monorail, but all the speed. Speed is what makes it. I like Sepulveda. Sepulveda used to be a state highway.
Right.
Sepulveda is a big wide street. It was a motel street. It's fascinating history when you look at the variety of land uses, and that could transform it. Whether how much density you have in North Van Nuys and other areas to carry heavy loads of people, I think that's a real big job for your transit planners, which I await the studies that come forth.
And that, the heavy rail is one of the alternatives that we're looking at as far north as the Sylmar San Fernando Metrolink station. So we are looking at...
But not light rail, or
We're looking at both, light rail and heavy rail.
how would you put heavy rail in the valley, on Van Nuys, on the surface or above, or how would you do it?
We haven't
Come to that point. Anyway, okay, I'm excited about this opportunity to look at it, but I want to be very vocal on I think we have to look at our freeway systems, whether it's a monorail or whether it is. And also, you know what would be interesting if you did a study, because I know we have that transit way down the Harbor Freeway transit way. We have El Monte Busway, which is now its 30th year. It's hard to believe. Mayor Bradley, I remember, dedicated it. Is it 30 years old, El Monte?
It opened up in 94.
Older than that.
Yeah.
And even the Gold Line out to Pasadena, when we're in the middle of the freeway, it's a lonely place. And I don't see clusters of people there, even when I take the Green Line, which is to be high-speed rail out to the desert from that. The question I want to ask, do we as planners, and I just say this because you'll have discussions, think, okay, we'll use the right-of-way, but we'll leave the right-of-way and we'll go inlet a little, so that it becomes part of a community as opposed to isolated, standing in the middle of the roadways with the roar of the highway. Just a thought. Say hi to Martha Wellborn for me.
I will.
Any more comments or questions from the team? Yes, please.
104?
104 miles.
And 68 are underground or something? What's the upper and lower?
Now, is that
Very
an
good.
iPhone you got it on, or what?
No, he called his buddy at BART. Hey, Harry.
90 miles an hour maximum speed.
80 miles?
Right, 44 stations.
You don't know the high and low. Good.
Okay, so we'll continue this conversation as life goes on itself.
When it comes to council, I think we should ask Mr. Wesson to have at least a report. And you know what, Paul? I think, our Valley COG, it should be a committee of Valley council members to look at these big issues and have greater thought. But that's another question for another day.
That's a very good idea, actually.
Let's go forward with this and file it, and we'll continue that discussion.
Thank you.
No problem with that. Okay.
Good.
So moved, note and file.
Thank you so much.
Good.
Thank you for your hard work. Is there any other comments or public comments?
Public comment here.
Say anything?
Public comment.
Oh, Dr. Lamont.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I was at a community meeting and Heinz Nederlands of Pacific Palisades came up to me about resurfacing Palisades Drive.
Yes.
And I got his phone number here and I told him I would bring it to the great councilman of the 11th District. I've called him and you can see Palisades Drive all the way from Sunset Boulevard to the cul-de-sac is an older street. I know there's a list for it. So it's on the record.
Thank you very much for putting it on the record, and would you please have Joaquin follow up on that? Okay, with that in mind, meeting is adjourned. God bless you all. Thank you for coming.
Thanks. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Rosendahl.